Okay, here we go again, but this time we're going to try solving equations. So let's take the equation negative 3x equals 12. We're trying to isolate the variable, which means we need to get rid of this negative 3. We've checked to see what operation is here, and since it's multiplication, we can undo the multiplication with division. And what we do to one side, we need to do to the other. And again, the reason we're going to divide by negative 3 is because negative 3 divided by negative 3 equals 1. Oops. And anything multiplied by 1 is itself. So basically it cancels out. So we're left with x equals 12 divided by 3 is negative 4. Okay. Now let's take a look at another example where we have x over 9 equals negative 5. So again, we're trying to get the variable by itself, which means we need to get rid of this 9. In order to do that, we need to do the inverse operation. But the inverse operation of what? Well, let's look. What operation is here? This bar right here means division. This is really x divided by 9. So to get rid of a 9, we can actually multiply by 9. And what we do to one side, we do to the other. And again, by multiplying by 9, this really now says 9 divided by 9, which equals 1. So again, those will cancel out, and we're left with x equals negative 5 times 9, which is negative 45. And we can plug that x back in to check our work. What is negative 45 divided by 9? Negative 5. So our answer actually does make sense. Let's look at some addition and subtraction problems now. If we have x plus 17 equals negative 10, we're trying to get the x by itself, which means we have to get rid of the 17. To get rid of the 17, we're going to do the opposite. So since this is plus 17, we can add a negative 17. And what we do to one side, we're going to make sure we do to the other side. So 17 plus a negative 17 are going to cancel out because they equal 0. And anytime we add 0, we get our original number. So now we're left with just an x. And negative 10 plus negative 17 gives me negative 27. And that makes sense. Let's try one more with subtraction now. So if the original problem was x minus 5 equals negative 12, we're trying to get the x by itself, so I need to get rid of this 5. But notice, and it might be easier to see if we change it to add the opposite, this is really a negative 5. How do you get rid of a negative 5? We'd have to add a positive 5. Because negative 5 and positive 5 are going to equal 0. They're additive inverses. So now we have our x equals, and negative 12 plus 5 gives me a negative 7. We were able to solve the problem. I want to just take one quick look at two-step equations. If we had negative 2x minus 10 equals negative 20. Again, I see subtraction, so my first instinct is going to be to change it to add the opposite. Now we're trying to get the variable by itself. So the first thing I need to get rid of is this negative 10. To get rid of a negative 10, we can do the opposite, of course, to both sides. So those will cancel out. Negative 10 plus 10 is 0. So negative 2x equals negative 10. And now to get rid of my x, I'm going to do the inverse operation. But what operation is here? That would be multiplication. This is negative 2x times x. So to undo multiplication, I can do the inverse operation, which would be to divide by negative 2. Negative 2 divided by negative 2 is 1, which allows those to cancel out. So now I'm left with x equals negative 10 divided by negative 2 is going to give me a positive 5. once you know how to do all of your one-step equations, your two-step equation is actually really simple. You're going to use the same rules. Add or subtract to get rid of your constant, and then multiply or divide to get rid of your coefficient. And you'll have your final answer. So now go ahead and try some yourself.